Good evening, Dungeon Masters. I'm Baron Durop. I've always lamented that designing monsters for D&D is a tedious, unrewarding, and complicated thing to do. So why do we act like that's acceptable? There's an easy and fast way to do this. Just by reskinning an owlbear, we can quickly make a truly unique monster. Modifying an owlbear is useful because it hits a sweet spot of challenge rating, allows us to whip up a mini-maxed monster on the fly, and quickly bake in special abilities that usually don't alter its CR if you're designing for Adventure League. Owlbears, as presented in the monster manual, come in at a challenge rating 3. This makes them very scalable for multiple tiers of play. Just a single one of them is a deadly boss encounter for a level 1 or 2 party. What's interesting though, is that 9 of them are, according to the Adventure League rules, a deadly encounter for a level 11 party. This scalability means that you can introduce this monster early in the game, but keep them relevant as the party continues to level. This is something that most lower level monsters like orcs or kobolds just don't have the luxury of. Note that they also have multi-attack, so their damage output remains solid at higher levels. Additionally, they have a stat block that's really easy to tinker with. So let's do that. First of all, owlbears are quintessentially mini-maxed. With a potently high strength and constitution, their damage output and endurance is quite high. What's great though is that these stats, if you quickly rearrange them, give you the template to make a powerhouse of basically whatever you want. Give the stats a quick shuffle and the new monster has solid but different strengths and weaknesses. Do you need a super stealthy dark abyssal panther instead of a lumbering bear? Swap his strength and dexterity. Do you need a lithe and flimsy creature that is a powerhouse of spell slinging? Then flop his strength and charisma scores around. With stats like this, you can make an on-the-fly mini beholder without having to directly reference the monster manual. Once you have the ability scores worked out, we can focus on its actual abilities. Throwing in a few skill proficiencies is completely free. It won't affect the monster's CR. Load it up on things like stealth or acrobatics. You can even give them expertise in these things if you want. As long as your party is at a decent level, adding a fly speed won't affect its CR either. Additionally, if you need to add things like pounce, charge, trip, or some other cool attack feature, or give it resistance to non-magical attacks, the Owlbear reskin only mildly has its threat level changed. Additionally, we can quickly fashion a breath weapon or some other area effect attack. Just add up all the damage the monster can do in a single round of combat and turn that into some area effect offensive output. Owlbears have a claw and bite that do 2d8 plus 5 and 1d10 plus 5 respectively, so if you want to have an area effect attack, just have it do 4d10 damage. It's basically the same damage output. As long as your breath weapon damage matches its per round melee attack output and recharges on a 5 or 6, you won't change the monster's CR. To arrive at the saving throw DC, that's 8 plus 2 for the proficiency bonus plus 3 or 5 depending on which good stat you're using. That would come to a DC 13 or 15 respectively. Conversely, these same DCs could be used to give the Owlbear reskin a spell or two. Even if you are creating a full-blown spellcaster, it's usually not useful to worry about having more than 3 to 5 spells. A typical combat in 5th edition will only last 3 to 5 rounds, so there's no need to choose more spells than the monster will be able to cast before it's defeated. Assume we need the stats for a Brimstone Drake. It's been attacking a farmstead recently, and what started as an occasional theft of goats has suddenly turned for the worse. The miller's son was carried off yesterday, and his father is willing to pay for revenge. Start with the Owlbear's stats. Everything looks fine there. A 20 in strength gives it plenty of room to carry off livestock or a small child. It's harmless to increase its intelligence, so let's bump that up to a 5. Now, it might be able to understand basic conversation if the party tries to talk to it. Further, we can double its ground speed for a fly of 80, and throw on an acrobatic skill so it can be a bit more nimble than its mediocre dexterity would typically allow. But what about this stat block makes it a Brimstone Drake and not an Owlbear with wings? Where's the smoke and fire? How about we give it not one, but 2 breath weapons? The first is basically a reskin of the spell Fog Cloud, and the other is just a sum of all its damage output as a breath weapon, 4d10 fire damage in a 30-foot cone. Both of these recharge on a 5 or 6. The Fog Cloud will be lots of fun. Using this ability, the Drake can cover its escape like a squid shooting ink as it swims away. Or, if it gets a jump on the party, it can cause some disorientation for the characters. As an action plan for combat, use round 1 to smokescreen the party, round 2 for the fire breath on the unaware players so they have disadvantage on their dex save, and then on round 3, when the players finally start running out of the fog cloud, the Drake will scoop one of them up and carry a PC off. Now, the fog cloud becomes airborne terrain, and the Drake will use it as cover to spirit away his player character snack. Next, keep in mind that these monsters scale well into higher levels of play. Imagine a party facing off with 6 of these drakes. What if some dragon sorcerer was mind controlling all of them? Have a whole flock of these guys strafe the battlefield while the party attempts to dispatch their puppet master. This would be a really tough and interesting fight. In closing, what kind of monster design would you put together based on an Owlbear stat block? Their challenge rating makes them very scalable and relevant through multiple tiers of play. Their mini-maxed ability scores helps you create an interesting monster with clear strengths and weaknesses quickly. And stapling on a few special abilities rarely changes the challenge rating in any meaningful way. I hope you now have a new appreciation for Owlbears. Lastly, if you'd like the stat block of the Brimstone Drake, I'll leave a link to it in the description below. Thanks for tuning into Dungeon Masterpiece, and until next time, Dungeon Masters, good night.